Welcome to the Strategic Project Leader, where we help you leverage strategic project management so you can achieve your goals. Now, here's your host, Fola Alabi.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to another episode on the Strategic Project Leader. I am your host, Fola Alabi, always here to empower you as leaders, as project managers, and business professionals to thrive, leveraging strategic project management skills. Today is really exciting because I'm on the road. Yes, we're coming at you live all the way from London, England. The show must go on. That's right. Although the setup is different, everything is different, but the value we're going to be presenting today never changes. I've got a wonderful guest who's all the way in Niger. Here's a leader who has spent decades and decades all about empowering professionals. And the fact is that he's just all about giving back because today he works on developmental projects and he works for the United Nations. It's just a great pleasure to have him with me in the studio today. Today it's really special because when I think about projects and I think about the outcomes that we look to create, it's all about value. It's all about how we can create value for our customers, how we can create value for our stakeholders, how we can actually create value even for ourselves. And so today we want to dive into that and understand the steps we need to start taking from today so that we can create that differentiating factor from everybody else. So I want to know where you guys are actually joining us from. I've got my regulars here. Thank you so much, Mohammed, for being here. We're going to be welcoming no other Dr. Professor Farhad Abdollahyan. Professor, how are you doing today?
Fine. I'm very motivated to interact with your audience.
That's right. Great to definitely have you. I just look back at, the first conversation we had. It went on and on and on. We have so much in common. And it's just a great joy to have you. I can see that we have Lee here as well. And we also have Joseph. Yes, it's really, really great to do this. I wanted to dive right in. Professor, when we think about value and project management, what exactly should project professionals think about as the basic foundation?
Everybody talks about adding value, but in fact, the problem is that the definition of value is different from different perspectives and points of view. So we tried. I mean, when I say we, I was in a task force for PMI to come up with the practice guide for benefit realization management. And we went through the whole literature of value regarding portfolios, programs, projects, processes, and so forth. And we came up with some common denominator. In fact, when we talk about value, we're talking about what you get from what you expend. So it's a benefit cost relationship, and most of the time, some people are on the cost side, are looking only at the costs and the time, and other people are looking at the benefits. But in fact, the value is created when these two match and have a healthy relationship. You should get minimum value equal to your costs. Okay, but the problem is that the benefits and values are not at the same level. So costs are more monetary or more tangible, while a lot of benefits are intangible. So we have to find a way of transforming the intangible benefits to tangible ones so that we can compare and see if we're getting value for money. So this value for money is something which is very dear to the UK. You're in London, I suppose. So they refer to as value for money. But in the United States, they have another approach. They call it theory of change. And what is this theory of change about? for lots of years, the developed countries used to throw lots of money, millions and billions of dollars, to the third world, undeveloped countries, and they thought that they will create an impact, and the impact that was not coming. So they started to theorize to see what's missing, in this value chain that hinders the way you realize values, realize benefits. Thus, comparing to the cost, you are generating value. They come up with this theory of change. They call it a logical framework. And the logical framework is very close, very comparable to value for money on the British side. You start with your inputs. The inputs are applied in activities. The activities create deliverables that we call outputs. And then the outputs create possibility or capability to create outcomes, results. And these results at the end will create the impact. But you can apply that universally. I mean, this value chain can be applied in government. It can be applied in the private sector or in the NGOs. I mean, whatever is your end result, you expect to get it, we can use the same approach. So when you talk about the value, you have to say what value you are talking about, because value is a very subjective term.
100%.
Value for me is not the same as yours.
That's right.
Or my friend 𝗿𝗶𝗶𝗰𝗸 that I see he's in the chat. I see Lee, a fellow from PMI, also. So I mean, for different people in different places in the world, the word value means different things.
That's right.
So first we have to come up with a common denominator so that we can talk about the same thing. So when I talk about value, is simplified way is the benefits that you get by the energy, the resources, the costs that you incur to achieve them. And if this relationship is healthy, then you have created value. Otherwise, you have destroyed value. The benefits is very close to the stakeholders. They have the stake in the game.
That's right.
There is no project or program without a beneficiary. So if you have a beneficiary, they have a benefit. They try to have a benefit or a disbenefit, because sometimes projects and programs, they create value for some and destroy value for others. So this you have to be able to see if the aggregate value is higher than the aggregate of what the value that you destroyed.
The input, exactly. I know, especially today when we live in a world of sustainability, right? For sure. And you're like, how far do we need to go to create that? I don't want us to dive into that yet. But when I think about value, and you hit the nail on the head, I really love that. We think about the outcome or the benefits we're looking to create for our stakeholders. But we also need to think about what's going to be the cost of creating that outcome. And then when you do that comparison, we don't want to, for instance, spend $100 million and create a value of just maybe 20 million. At the end of the day, we almost have like a loss of about 80 million at that particular point. So everything's actually relative. But generally, when we have PMs who come on a project and they're given a specific goal to actually achieve, the business has a need, and the PM is brought in to help deliver a specific outcome. A lot of the time, what I've also found is at the start of the project, a lot of this project should actually be really viable, where there really was a goal, there was a business case that was actually valid. But at times, through the course of the project life cycle, things obviously may have changed. And the value that could have been realized based on the business case or the project charter that had been set at the start of the project could still be delivered. But my point then is, if things in the marketplace has actually shifted, the value at that time may not even be relevant. Maybe, for instance, you can imagine when we talk about electric cars at the moment. Organizations who are just heavy on diesel and fossil fuel, if they had a project, for instance, that had to get more cars on the road that are not energy efficient, maybe it's going to take them a year or two. It's obviously going to almost be obsolete because we already know there's that vision 2030 when we think about things about sustainability. But I wanted you to share your wealth of knowledge, especially for PMs. When they kick off projects, what has been the strategies that you have used to ensure that throughout the life of your project is still viable? It's still one that is on the path to consistently deliver value as you go.
In fact, there is a misconception here. Normally, you try to make accountable the project manager for everything, and that's not the case. I mean, you mentioned business case. The owner of the business case is not the project manager.
That's right.
Is the executive or sponsors or
The
client
sponsor,
or senior responsible owner, as we call it
in the UK.
So it's somebody at a strategic level with power to delegate it to somebody to create the value. So when the project manager is appointed, normally the project has been approved by somebody.
Yes.
So maybe he doesn't have any more to say. I mean, either he accepts the challenge to put the project in, or he will be replaced by somebody else. So it's not fair to put that responsibility on the shoulders of a project manager, since he has not the authority to change it. He can recommend, he can analyze, he can do scenarios, he can propose things to the board of the project or board of the program, and try to influence the decision makers. But he himself is more on a tactical, operational side. So they give him a mission, and he has to achieve the goals of that mission. But of course, when I get an offer managing a program or a project, the first thing that I do, I go through all the rationale. As Sinek would say, start with the why.
Yeah, exactly.
Why are you doing that? Or why are you doing that? That makes sense for you. If you have arguments that shows you that it's the right thing to do, then I'll accept. Because if you accept and you start, you cannot say no, I didn't know. So you have to do your
due diligence. Exactly.
So you have to understand what's going on, who are the beneficiaries, what is at stake, what is the outcome would be. But of course, you are going to do only the outputs. Somebody else will take care of the deliverables that you give. And if you had it at the quality, at the right time, they can transform it into something of value. And then at the end, you have the impact. Impact in the private sector is return on investment.
That's right.
Impact in my field, development, humanitarian, and peacekeeping thing, is the social impact. So we have to see if what we did was the right thing to do. And this value for money framework that the British have, they can work for both sides. I mean, before you launch the project, you do the value for benefit analysis at your business case level. And after, when the project finishes, you do the postmortem, or we call it
post-implementation review.
Post-project review, where you look at what was promised and what was achieved, and then you come up with new ideas. So this also fits into another framework, which we call it monitoring and evaluation. So the monitoring and evaluation is based on indicators that you have to define at outset, not at the end of the project, but before you start the project. You have to know what you're going to track to make sure that the benefits are accounted for, because the cost is easy to account for, but the benefits not always very, clearly measurable. So you have to transform it into something measurable through the indicators. And these indicators, you do the monitoring, and then based on the monitoring, you may have some additional work to do after the project finishes. Maybe you have to launch another project, a complementary project, or change the way you do other projects so that it won't create the same negative results that you have achieved. So, I mean, projects and programs are a learning organization. You have to also capture lessons learned and try to do it better next time.
100%. I think that's really great because I always keep it like really simple, especially when I'm mentoring project managers or even executive leaders. I just make it clear and I say, what does success look like? You know, how can we really tell that this project was successful in simple terms? And then we can obviously then start putting some metrics to say, okay, success means that we have implemented an actual system that actually works. What does that really mean? You know, how many clients should we be able to serve on this actual system? What does that actually mean when it comes to like the data we want to be able to move through the system? But what does success really look like? Because that ties back into the value you're actually creating. And to your point, that's the only way we can track benefits even post-project go live for project implementation. So I want us to dive a little bit deeper. I know you've shared a lot of great lessons and things that you've actually done when it comes to benefits and value. As a PM who is one who is looking to move up the career, the corporate ladder, because our goal is to help PMs become more strategically minded. We want project managers who are going to move just beyond just the tactical piece of, this is my piece of my project, let me go and let me deliver that. How can we tie value in to help them differentiate themselves with a strategic focus where they are actually now able to set themselves apart from all the other PMs within organizations, creating a path for them either to C-suite or even to something bigger and better? I can see you smiling, so I really want to hear that.
Yeah, excellent question. These two questions arises from time to time, and my answer is that project management is a role, is not a profession. So it depends what you are looking for, because people do the work. So one of these people is called project manager, but project manager can have a set of different roles in different organizations. If you're on the supplier side, normally you have to be cautious about the revenues and the cost of the project, so that your project is profitable for the supplier of the solution. If you're on the customer side, you have to make sure that whatever is created has quality that gives you the capabilities to transform it into outcomes by using those systems or those deliverables or assets, whatever your end output is, so that it is useful for the company who invested in that project. So based on these roles, you may have some complementary tasks that you have to be done, and some knowledge and know-how which goes together with it. So in my opinion, project managers on the supplier side or on the customer side have to be business savvy. They have to know what the business is and try to channelize all their efforts so that they create most value for the wider possible beneficiary landscape that you have. So maybe sometimes one of the beneficiaries has to lose in order that hundreds of other beneficiaries get a better value from. So you have to do some trade-offs. So these trade-offs, you only can do it if you are business savvy, if you know what the business is and where are you going to achieve it, and what are the people are looking at. So a supplier is not looking very keenly on the investment of the client, because the investment of the client is the responsibility, accountability of the client. On the other hand, he's very keen to do a good job so that he can have other projects, other contracts. So it's a question of defining the benefits, the set of benefits of the project, and who shares this set, because some of these benefits are shared by both sides. So both sides want to have a successful project, but some of the benefits are a bit different or even conflicting. So in a way, you have to do negotiation. You have to be a business savvy person who knows where the stakes are, and try to detect the risks and inform the incidents, the issues that arises rapidly, so that gives the decision makers the way to to navigate until the end of the river. Behind me is the river of Niger. So
I know the sun just set. It's so beautiful. And that obviously shows, because in your career, we can see that the sun is obviously set. You've done this for so many decades. You've been so successful. Today, you work for the United Nations as well, and you have some other projects you obviously support when it comes to mentorship. People want to know, how exactly did you create that path? Because a lot of people want to be like you when they grow up. I say that and then we laugh a lot, right? But seriously, looking at the tactical piece, looking at benefits, looking at value, we know that. We've read through textbooks, we've done that. But what exactly have you been able to leverage that has differentiated you?
I'll give you. Let me give you some specific and very concrete examples, so that you will understand what I'm talking about. On Friday morning, I was talking to one of our we call them partners, but they are our clients. It's our sister agency called UNDP. So we are building them their office, and we had a lot of back and forth, because they didn't have funding to do what they wanted to do in the beginning. They wanted the green building, resilient, sustainable, and they wanted to have a 10-story building, but they only had $215,000. I said, "Are you mad? I mean, 200."
How is that possible? But don't you believe in miracles?
Yeah, you want to put in the foundation. So I had to put myself in their shoes. That's a part of the job of a project manager or a business executive, because I have the two hats here. I manage some projects. I am the executive. I'm the head of the office of the UNOPS in Niger. So I play several roles at the same time in different contexts. But this particular building is not a big deal. I mean, it's a 2-story building with the possibility to extend it to the third one. And because building is not the focus of UNDP. UNDP's focus is on development. So
Yes.
investment in a building has to be justified, and they have to justify it through business case. So at this moment, I'm helping them to come up with a business case. So I told them, why don't you share the building with other small agencies that they have these they rent other buildings in the city. So we put them together. Instead of doing a 2-story building, we do a 3-story building.
Yes.
So instead of going to cut cost, I gave them another perspective. Why don't we try to create some revenue out of this building, so that you can justify your back office plus your programs and projects, and of course you will cost share with the other agencies, so you come up with something which is interesting. But the problem is that if you go to the others that already have a local and they have rented and everything else, they will ask you when the building will be ready. That's how the project management part jumps in. What's your schedule? How many months are you going to take? To
Yeah.
build this, we can move to your building and start getting advantage of a lower cost, because we're going cost sharing, so we will have a better offer. And of course, there are other additional benefits, such as security, the compliance to United Nations, and anything else, which this building will be totally compliant, will be totally green, and everything else. And that would be a way of making it feasible. So you see, the things that I learned in the private sector nowadays is helping me in this development sector, because these people are not very
Business
familiar.
savvy.
Yeah, they're not familiar with what I'm talking about, because it's easy to cut cost, but it's not easy to create benefits.
That's right.
Something that would
Creates bigger value, and other people can
think
leverage as well.
why should you do a small building if you can do a little bit bigger building with much more benefits?
That's right.
That's how it comes in. So this is very challenging, because the other side doesn't have your culture. So you have to see how you have to phrase it, how you have to present it. That's where the communication piece comes in. We're talking about power skills nowadays in PMI. What is power skill? Power skill is exactly that. It's a way to be able to communicate in a way
And
that
influence.
more
That's right.
benefits.
Mhm.
So if you have the value mindset, and you have you have to sense that everything that you do is for somebody to take a benefit. So if you think about the stakeholders as beneficiaries, and what is their benefits, and how you can show them the value, because value is also there's a difference between objective value and perceived value. So
That's
you have
right.
to also put it in a way that the value is also perceived, because otherwise they don't buy it. You have to sell them. You have to sell them the stake. So this is how you have to do it. And that is a very small project. I have this project which is under $1 million, and I myself, I'm the head of the PMO of a $440 million project. So you see, the scale is different, but the way you have to approach it is the same. It's all about value. Back to you.
100%. No, absolutely. Because you've kind of touched on so many things, and even we have a piece from our audience here. They're talking about the PM profession. But before we get there, you have touched in pieces about having like a strategic mindset. I hear the word like more about collaboration and thinking about how can we create something bigger and better, thinking about probably what are the needs you can also see outside your project that maybe you can incorporate and create even something bigger and better. You've also touched on creating, understanding the business, right? Because why is the organization in business in the first place? If your project and the outcome of what you're creating doesn't move the needle for your organization, then there's a problem. But I see PM project management beyond just another job, but as not just even a job, not just a career, as a lifestyle, because it's one that you can leverage as an executive, as a project coordinator, as an accountant. It is a skill that you need to execute and get results. Because
The
I have
lawyer,
someone who, yeah,
lawyers can be project managers,
exactly, that's right. Because I know you said something, you said project management is a role, not a profession. So we've got two people making a comment on that. I want you to buttress on that particular point. What's your
Sorry.
take on that?
Before you go further, there is this gentleman called 𝗿𝗶𝗰𝗶𝘰 is provoking me with a very interesting question. He says, "Interesting, sir, but they are called or named project management professionals, PMPs.
Yes. Yeah.
If it is not a profession, it is just a question, maybe the title. No, it's not about that. You can be very, very professional in managing projects. Okay, I think that every professional has to have this skill set of project management. So it's about doing it professionally. Because normally you do it intuitively. Everybody manages projects. The way that everybody manages risks. But you can do it professionally, or you can do it as an amateur with no, with not applying the best practices and everything else. So this project management professional, it's been 25 years now that I'm PMP. I did it in '98, last century. So I'm old.
Oh my goodness!
Ever since I have renewed my PMP commitment, because I'm committed to do project management professionally, not necessarily as a job of a project manager. I had this title when I was working in 𝗿𝗶𝗰𝗀𝗶𝘰𝗁, but for a short time, I was project manager during only 1.5 years. And then afterwards, they promoted me to PMO manager and head of operations. But I didn't stop managing projects. I was managing projects in another scale or in another perspective. So whatever I learned to pass my PMP exam, not only I'm using it, but it's very helpful for me to create value. And I think value even for myself, because I became trainer, I became, a consultant, whatever. So I mean, it's another perspective. You shouldn't look at the title of the job or the job, but you have to look at the functions and services that you're going to provide and the role. You can have few roles at the same. I'm here. I have 4 different roles, 4 different roles, and I do it simultaneously, very seamlessly. For me, it's very clear what hat I have to put. I have many fat hats.
I know you haven't sent mine over yet. Yeah.
What a hat I have to put to talk to what person.
Yeah.
And that is one of the power skills that we have to have. The way to treat things. There is this professor from Harvard. He's called Yuri, and he says when you negotiate, you already have the no. You have to start working onto getting the yes. So that's the way. I mean, you have to negotiate all the time with different level of audience, with different level of importance and stakes, benefits, let's say, and I'm not very. I'm not looking for the job title. I'm looking what I'm going to create as value, because everybody nowadays wants to add value. But since you don't have a good approach to value, whatever you say is just blah blah blah. It's just subjective.
I know, but yeah, for sure. So pretty much what I hear you say, we're both in agreement, right? The project manager title is a title you actually wear in an organization. However, the skill in project management is a life skill. It's a life hack that you obviously need beyond just.
PMI has a kit for teaching children how to manage projects.
Oh yeah,
I mean, you can be a child, a teenager, a student at the university, and you manage. I mean, if you're a researcher in a university, what you are doing, you're managing your thesis project.
No, for sure. The key is we want to pull those things out because we want to hear, we want to learn, because I've already heard adaptability as well. You have shown that adaptability is a power skill that you have leveraged beyond just your normal day-to-day. You can wear so many hats and be comfortable doing that, still focused on the price, which is the value and the benefits and the outcome, while delivering a fantastic role. Because everyone wants to be successful. We kind of know what the textbook says. However, it's like, what exactly has Professor Farhad done that has created this huge success? And I know it's obviously always a work in progress, but we want to know when it comes to differentiation. You have said adaptability, you have said, strategy and understanding the business. We want to know more. So how have you been able to tackle that? Did you leverage mentors through your career? How have you been able to do this and be successful as well? Did you actually have mentors?
I had many mentors in my professional career. So Yes, and some of them were key to my success, because now we have to define what success is, because success for some is not the same success for others. There are people who are looking only at monetary gains and things like that, and there are people who are moved by other aspects. Um, I follow the philosophy, Japanese philosophy called ikigai. I don't know if you know what the
Oh,
ikigai is.
yes.
Yeah. So these four dimensions are key for me. I have to do something which I know how to do it. The thing that I do has to add value to somebody. I have to do it well, and it has to be rewarding. I mean, somebody has to pay me to do it. If I have the four of them together, then I'm at my ikigai. And this is my ikigai. You know, the sunset behind me. People say, "What are you doing in Niger?" I'm at my ikigai.
No, for sure. That's absolutely critical. I remember someone telling me, I haven't heard anyone who talks about project management as much as you, Fola. But I talk about it, and I talk about it being a lifestyle because I have been able to help organizations not just execute on projects and deliver on strategy, but I leverage it even in my personal life as well, in my business. And I can see the difference of how it has actually transformed my world every single day. And just even a quick one, I was just talking to a leader just yesterday when just working after I did a keynote, and he was like, he's someone from a totally different profession, and he was like, Fola, the way you connect projects even to relationships and to life is like, it's fascinating. I'm like, yes. Again, it's back to value. And I am someone who is very, very logical. I want to be able to understand where I'm at the moment and where I want to get to. And project management has helped me always chart a path where I see this is my start, these are my requirements, this is the plan, these are the steps I need to take, these are my stakeholders. So boom, I have a clear picture. The vision is clear, just like the agile way of doing things. I just keep continuously improving on it. So it's one piece that I think that every single one listening to us today needs to understand that yes, Ikigai is even fantastic. But if you even leverage project management, even within whatever it is you're already doing, it's even phenomenal. Everything else gets better. It's just like they say, like everything get better with is it with ice cream or whatever. People have different things, right? What they could add to it that makes it better. But the key I really want to get everyone to understand today is that there are certain steps that we need to take and we need to understand when it comes to being positioned for success, whatever that looks like. But I know that value, creating something that someone needs, an organization needs, and you can provide that to them, and you can be the one that can do that really well, then that's definitely awesome. Professor Fahad, a very quick question before we get into our project lifestyle segment is when you take all of these great ideas, you're adaptable, you've got the business skills, you've got great mentors, you're providing value, you're tracking that. What else have you been able to leverage to differentiate yourself through your career?
Um, when I did my MBA in France, HEC School of Business, the way they had sold me the program was that in 3 years' time I'm a manager, in 5 years' time I'm a director, in 10 years' time I'm a CEO of a company. So that was what they said that. I mean, it's fact. This my school in France is the best school in all Europe, according to the rankings. And people normally they don't have to search for jobs. Jobs come to my school. Companies come and hire people before even they are graduated. So, but that's I mean something which was at that time when I did it 40 years ago. In June, I'm going to commemorate 40 years of graduation of that school. That was true for the French. 90% of the students were French, 10% were foreigners. I mean, when they came, they offered the jobs to the French. So, I mean, it was true for in some cases and not true on the other cases.
Yeah.
So that was the first lessons that I learned. I said, okay, you doing this, but the one next to you has a better chance of getting a job than you, and he will have a better career than you. That was my first setback. But afterwards, I started applying whatever I had learned in the school. The first month that I started working, and it was a project. They gave me a project, agribusiness project to do, and I had to do everything. I had to do the marketing part, the the factory. We created a small factory to process food, sell farm products. It was a huge farm, and I was applying everything that I learned in the school, even critical path. At that time, I had to do it with my hand. I mean, there was no software to do it. So, in a way, I was very happy to have that opportunity to apply whatever I had learned. But the thing is, afterwards, I had hiccups and ups and downs, and I never became a CEO of a company. I mean, but after a while, I said, "Do you want to be a CEO?" No, I want to be somebody who adds value. And I tried to do different things in different companies, and that helped me because I have already done everything, agribusiness. I worked for the Levi Strauss for 5 years. Jeans company and so forth. I worked for the government of São Paulo, state government. So I did in public sector as well. I worked for technology companies, and in this last adventure that I had in the private sector, which was Hewlett-Packard, I had a very, 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 very wise director, leader, and a mentor.
Oh.
So I worked with him. The first year, he was not my director. He was a director of consulting business of Hewlett-Packard in Brazil. So he promoted me 5 times. But every time, he used to say, "Okay, now you're a SAP consultant. You do this and this and that." Then he said, "Okay, now you're a project coordinator. So now your job has changed. You have to have another approach. Now you're a project manager. So you manage your projects. That's that. These are the rules of the game. These are the indicators of your success. And if you're successful, you go ahead." The third time that he promoted me, he said, "We received a directive from the headquarters to create a PMO." I said, "Okay, what are the indicators? Wow. What is the job description about?" He said, "I have no idea. The project manager professional is you. So you tell me what I have to do.
What we need to do.
Tell me how I have to evaluate you." I said, "I can do whatever I want. I mean, I can create indicators that will
benefit you
myself." I said, "No, I cannot do that. Ethically, it's not morally, it's not acceptable." So I started to look into how we can come up with something that is logical. And the other people won't create a havoc for him. So I put everything which was in that time. It was 2000, the beginning of the century. So PMOs was a new thing. Nobody knew what PMO was about. So I tried to do whatever was in the literature at that time, plus indicators of Hewlett-Packard. So I blended these together, and I said, "That's how you have to judge me," and it worked. A year and a half afterwards, I was promoted head of operations. So I think you have to be able to see what are the stakes are, and sometimes the beneficiary doesn't know exactly what he wants. So you have to help them to elucidate, to come up with the requirements, and then afterwards you do the scope. I mean, if you think that everything is ready, is defined, and there's no for me, that's not fun. I mean, it's very routine. I have to do something which is different and it's challenging, and he was.
Hello, Mr. Farhad. Can you actually hear me? I want someone to put a comment in the chat so I know that you can still hear us. I've actually almost lost Professor Farhad, but let me know in the chat if you can still hear me, because I'm still here. I know he was just trying to finish off, and we can just jump into project lifestyle in the meantime. But let me know in the chat if you can still hear us, and while we just actually wrap this up, be sure that everything's actually good. So yes, when it comes to becoming value focused, what exactly does that mean, and how can we leverage this life skill even in our personal life? It's one piece that I sit back and I think about it every single day. In organizations, we know, yes, you start off with understanding the strategy of the organization. You understand the fact that, yes, where exactly is my organization going? And you go off to identifying business needs. You want to develop the right skill set to get that done. You establish networks. You ensure you've got the people to actually support you. And then you seek opportunities that actually add value. That's right. That's what happens in the business. And then you go off to measure your impact. You're sure that you are doing this and it actually makes sense. But when it comes to your personal life as well, can you actually apply that and can you make that really, really work? That's right. I sat back to think about it. I said, first off is I had to define my personal values. I'm like, what exactly do I really want? As a leader, as a community builder, what do I really want for myself? Because I want to challenge each and every one of you to do that as well. What exactly is it that you want that are your personal values? And then you go off to the next step and identify what exactly are your high valued activities. Fantastic. I think we just had Professor join us, and I think he just sorted out his connection. So think about that pretty well. The
I
key,
changed.
first of all,
Yeah,
starts
I
off
changed.
with oh, fantastic. Yeah, which is on project lifestyle. You define your personal values. And when you define your personal values, the number two is you identify the high value activities. So, what are those things that are high impact and easy to achieve that you can actually do that will align with your personal goals? That way, you are not just showing up as just another PM, but even at home in your personal life, you are creating those activities that would help move your personal life forward as well as people around you. And then I want you to continually evaluate exactly what you're doing. How are you doing every day? How are you doing every week? Based on the activities you've actually identified, is it still on track to deliver on value? Is it one that is still able to create the outcome that you actually want? Or is it one that you have to go back and readjust? As I had a post I shared a couple of days ago about me going back to reevaluate my plan. That is absolutely critical. You need to foster a culture of value creation where your partner sees you as valuable, where your kids see you as a mom, a dad, an aunt, a community builder that's constantly adding value. So remember, the number one thing is define your personal values, identify what your key value activities are, continuously evaluate as you go, and foster a culture that will help you ensure that you're constantly doing things that will deliver benefits and things that people definitely want. But apart from everything else, I always say, how can I differentiate myself from everybody else? Again, it's back to the values. When you show up every time, are you one who is a strategic mastermind, as I say, always looking at the bigger picture? How can I do even more? Professor Fahad had said that. How can you show up rather than just looking at this actual piece? How can we collaborate, bring all the stakeholders together, and deliver something bigger and better? Value focus is my challenge for you this week as you go forth, as you do that. Think about how you can be the one that will infuse continuous value at work and at home. Professor, what exactly are your final words? I know that we lost you for a little bit, but it's great to have you back. We just talk about thinking
Sorry,
about
sorry.
value.
I changed my internet provider, so I'm on my personal provider because I live in a hotel here. It's a 5-star hotel. They have a good normally they have a good Wi-Fi, but from time to time they have some instability. The other day that we were discussing, we had the same problem. So sorry to have lost you. For the last few minutes, I was just listening to you, so it's okay. So I knew that you were talking about value proposition. I think that's another key element that we have to look into. Um, I, as a consultant, help companies step before coming to the projects. their business model. So business modeling is all about finding the right set of value indicators so that you can optimize your value map. And from the value map, you either create a new value or enhance existing value. And I'm one of the fans of Osterweider, the canvas that he does, value generation, business model generation canvas, and that helps you to put the right set of things in, and it starts with the value proposition. Okay,
That's right.
who are your stakeholders are, and what is your value proposition to those stakeholders? So if you start with that, you have to be able to understand that there is two sides. There is this demand and the offer side, supply side. The supply side creates the cost, and the demand side generates the benefits or the values or revenues, whatever you want. So, I mean, when you're talking about the value proposition, it's a way you merge these two things together in a healthy way. See, if you have a healthy business model, from there you can come up with your portfolio of projects and programs, and then you can track if your projects and programs will give you the possibility to realize your vision, which is to create your value at the long run.
That's right.
I mean, that's not only in the private sector, but also in the governments and in the NGOs. You always have to have an idea of what is the value proposition, what is the purpose of the organization. And from there, you can link it to whatever we study in portfolio, program and project management, in risks, in value, in whatever framework that you're looking at. And nowadays, we're talking. A lot of people talk about agile, but you have to understand that the agile is just a way of looking at a value chain and try to anticipate the benefits. So anticipating the benefits, you will create a better return on investments. So if you look at that way, you will see that there are lots of things that you do which are not creating value. That leads you to the lean aspect. You have the agile and lean. I don't see any conflict between these two. They are complementary. So you have to be agile and lean at the same time. And all of them are value oriented. So if for me to jump from the waterfall to agile was easy because the mindset was already there. And 20 years ago, I used to do standing up meetings.
Stand-up meetings, right?
That became, mainstream nowadays. I mean, in the past, nobody talked about it. And why did I do a stand-up meeting? Because if you stand up, you get tired.
That's what I wanted to say.
2 hours of meeting. So you do it
100%. For people that are as old as us as we, right? We cannot stand for too long, Farhad. It's been a great pleasure. I know to have you. I want to know, people want to know, how can they connect with you? How can they learn more about you? I can't believe how time flew so fast.
Just invite me by LinkedIn, and I will be happy to connect. And of course, I'm always in your presentations, so we can also interact in the chat with other people. I'm a fan of yours. I started to follow you after you did the interview with 𝗿𝗶𝗰𝗸, my good friend. And of course, Lee is somebody that I don't know personally, but I think that he's already my friend because I
love that. That's a good one. We just connect all the high power, high achievers who help create value for organizations. That's what I want to thank Theas, 𝗍𝗶 The names just keep coming. K-Cool, who was here, 𝗿𝗶, Ken. Goodness, that it's just been so many people who had the pleasure to join us today. Mohammed, Lee, it's been a great pleasure. I want you to remember this. Value focus is a powerful concept, and it can actually be a great differentiator for you as a project professional, even as a business leader. By adopting this mindset, you will be able to set yourself apart from each and every other person that actually sits within the profession. I want to say thank you so much, Professor Farhad, for making this possible. I just cannot wait for us to sip coffee next to the River Nile very, very soon. We're going to be doing River Niger very soon. It's been a great pleasure. I just cannot wait, to see what the next month, the next year actually holds. But as I always make each and every one of you know that you are your life's project manager and you are the best project you can actually ever work on. Always remember that, because the return on investment on investing in yourself, I say, is astronomical. Focus on you and make sure that you remember that it doesn't matter what anyone says and what anyone feels. It's about what you are going to do and how you're going to incorporate the value you bring to the table every single time. Take time today to remember that. And I want to thank you for listening. And next week is going to be a wonderful episode because I have got a powerhouse coming as well. I'm never short of that. I want to share. I want to give you guys the best. And if you want to know more about how Strategic Project Leader or myself can help you with your training and mentorship and professional keynotes, follow the conversation on strategicprojectleader.com or even more about me on FolaAlabi.com. Once again, I cannot thank Professor Farhad enough. Thank you so much for being here. We definitely need to have you back with this. So much we need to cover because it was just like
thank you.
ongoing
Thank you
as well.
Yeah, thank you for having
Definitely.
me. Your audience also is very qualified audience, so I was very happy to see some of my students in the chat, and some of my people that I admire, like Lee. So yes, it was very fruitful discussion, and I will be very happy to come back with other themes or other challenges that you can throw at me. Thank you very much.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Remember that I say take action today. When you get something great, remember you don't keep it to yourself. Share with a friend, share with your colleague, even share with your boss. They may need to just listen to this, and that could be a pivot you need to help move your career to the next level. Until next week, have yourself a good one. 9 a.m. Mountain Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday next week. Have a good one. Bye-bye.